It's gonna be good, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be better, I can't wait. Making my move, live for the day, sing like a bird, fly like a plane. Come spill with me, Jenny D. Jenny D. Jenny D.
Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you so much for joining me with Menopause Mondays series. We launched it on March 31st. So listen, there's going to be a lot of other episodes coming with different people talking about their journey and what they've gone through. And I just want you to know that this information shared on Spill With Me, Jenny D, is for informational and educational purposes only. And it's not a substitute for professional medical advice. I'm bringing you options and advice, insights on how to navigate menopause, please. But every individual is different. Always consult your doctor or a qualified healthcare provider before making any decisions about your health, treatments, or lifestyle changes. Thank you. Hello, my beautiful people. Thank you for joining me with another episode of Spill With Me, Jenny D. But this is not just a regular episode. This is
Menopause Mondays.
We are so excited. So this is part 2. I am here with Kelley DeFilippis. She is a nurse practitioner and she's also a menopause specialist. So you're going to want to listen to this, and it doesn't matter what age you are because you're going to want this information. Now, part 1, if you missed part 1, that was more about the symptoms and about what we've been going through, and she really explained it. Like really explained. But I wanted to also tell you that this episode is brought to you by Porter's Compounding Pharmacy. It's located in Moon Township. The number is 412-264-2230, and it's portersrx.com. So thank you so much, Porters, for sponsoring this and helping us women through all this crazy.
Yes, thank you,
Kelley,
Porters.
Tell us a little bit about, you.
So I've been in healthcare for 25 years. I've been a nurse practitioner almost, 8 years. Menopause is something I'm very passionate about. I talk about my story in the first part, and I am a board certified nurse practitioner. I am a menopause specialist, a member of the North American Menopause Society, and I am with Allegheny Medical.
Nice. I love it. So let's get into the misconceptions because we really want to So what Kelley does is she really talks about with each of your patients.
I do.
Listen to their symptoms and everything.
Yeah.
And tell us about the hormone replacement.
So let's start with the Women's Health Initiative study. So this was a study that was started back in 1993. And did you know that women were not included in medical trials until 1993?
Really?
Yeah.
What?
And the reason that they were included, so the very first woman, she was the head of the NIH, which is the National Institutes of Health, and she was brought on in the 90s, and she was the one that started this Women's Health Initiative study. Now, she wasn't there whenever it finished, and that might have affected things.
Wow.
But she is the one who launched the study. So hormone replacement therapy has been around since, a long time. I mean, there are studies dating back all the way to the 1930s about hormone replacement.
Really?
Yes.
And this was only for women?
For women.
Just for women.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the 1993 study was only for women, but there's actually evidence and there's studies dating all the way back to the 1930s about hormone replacement therapy and women. And so the goal of the WHI was to see if hormone replacement therapy had an effect on heart disease. And did it help prevent heart disease? Did it help slow it down? Did it, what did it do?
Right.
What did it do for heart disease? And it kind of went off the rails. So what happened in 2002 was there were these headlines that said estrogen causes a 25% increased risk of breast cancer.
What?
And that's what put a screeching halt on hormone replacement therapy. Overnight, literally almost overnight, 80% of the women who were on hormone replacement therapy stopped. And almost all prescriptions for hormone replacement therapy stopped. And it was because of that headline.
It scared us.
It scared the bejesus out of people. And I can understand that.
Right.
The problem is there were issues with that press release. So there was a lead investigator who has been interviewed in numerous books, and his name was Dr. Robert Langer. And they were all of the investigators were called to be called about the publishing of the study.
Okay.
And whenever they got there, they said, throw out your agenda that you were mailed, because there's a new agenda, and we're going to put a stop to the WHI study because estrogen causes breast cancer. And here's the press release, and you have 2 hours to, refute it.
Oh my
and it's
gosh.
going to be printed in JAMA, which is the journal of the big medical journal.
Okay.
So they were told there were 40 some researchers at this conference, and some of them were like, oh, well, whatever, but others, like Dr. Langer, scrambled to read this press release and were writing out, like, no, this is wrong,
Oh my
like
gosh.
this, if you, and Dr. Langer is quoted as saying, if you open Pandora's box, you're never going to be able to put it back. Like you're going to change things forever if you put this out. So the researchers were told at 10:30 in the morning about the press release, and they were told that if they had any changes to bring it back before noon.
Okay.
Dr. Langer had his there by 11:30 in the morning, and was told, oh, sorry, the courier's already taken it.
Oh my gosh. That's horrible.
So,
because he saw a different research with
well, it's not that, but there were, and I'll get into it. But there were flaws with the study, and the problem is one, there were two. So there were the average age of the women in the study, and there were like 160,000 women or something in the study, and the ages of the women in the study were age 50 to 79. And the majority of these women were all postmenopausal. So this study did not include anyone who was still having periods.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone was already postmenopausal. And some of these women were well past the 10 years of being postmenopausal for when we think hormone replacement therapy is of most benefit. So the average age of the women in the study was
probably like 60s.
The average age was 63.
Yeah.
The average age was 63, and the average age of menopause is 51. So these women were 10 to 15 years postmenopausal in this study. And that alone, being 10 years postmenopause with no estrogen, puts you at risk for heart disease, diabetes, high cholesterol, osteoporosis. Yeah. So it puts you at risk for all of those.
Right.
It puts you at risk for all of those things, and even, cognitive changes, and even cancer.
You think like dementia or
Alzheimer's? Yeah, dementia, Alzheimer's.
Wow.
And so the women who were of close age to menopause weren't even included in the study.
That doesn't make sense.
Right.
So they scared the bejeebies out of us.
So not only that, there were two groups of women in the study.
Okay.
So we have to remember that when this study was done, it was done all with equine sources of estrogen and progestin. Okay. So those are synthetic.
Did you say equine?
Equine.
What is that, huh?
So it comes from pregnant horses' urine.
Oh my gosh, that's right. We did talk about this.
Yeah, it comes from pregnant horses' urine.
I forgot. Oh my gosh.
So back in 2002, we had Premarin, which was what Premarin stood for was pregnant mare's urine. Premarin.
Oh my gosh. That they were getting this?
Yes. In a pill form. It's not like they were drinking
Right.
horse urine. But yes.
Who came up with that?
Well, that's what your birth control pills are made out of.
Hello. These are facts that I didn't even know about.
So, one, all synthetic hormones were used. Two, the progestin, I should say, that was used because it was synthetic, is one that is called medroxyprogesterone acetate. Also derived from pregnant horses' urine. Two groups of women in the study.
Okay.
The first group of women were women who had a hysterectomy and did not have a uterus.
Oh my.
Okay. Those women received estrogen only. The reason that progestin or progesterone is given is because if you give estrogen all by itself, and this was found out back in like the 40s and 50s, whenever they were doing hormone replacement therapy and they were only using estrogen, and women were coming up with uterine cancer.
Oh my gosh.
And they found out that, progesterone is kind of like the yin to estrogen's yang. They balance each other out. And if you give progesterone,
nobody even talks about that. I haven't heard anybody.
If you give progesterone along with estrogen, you prevent that uterine lining from overgrowing that can turn to cancer.
Oh my God.
So when they were doing this study, two groups of women, first group of women, no uterus, did not need progesterone.
Okay.
Because they didn't have uterus, so they weren't going to have any uterine overgrowth.
Right.
They only needed estrogen. The second group of women were women who had a uterus. So they received both estrogen, Premarin, and medroxyprogesterone acetate, which was you would get either Premarin or you would get Prempro.
Okay.
I'm sure that those might sound.
Yeah, those are.
I was going to say those probably. So for some people, those might sound familiar. So right. I remember when my mom, way back, and then she was stripped off of her hormones, she was taking Prempro. I remember that for some reason. Yeah. Anyways, so when the study was stopped, what it actually showed was not that estrogen caused an increased risk of cancer. It was the synthetic progestin, the medroxyprogesterone acetate group of women that had an increased risk of breast cancer.
Oh.
It was not the women who were taking estrogen only. The women who were taking estrogen only actually had a less degree of breast cancer by about 30%.
They don't talk about that.
So instead of there's different ways to read studies. So there's something called an absolute risk and something called a relative risk. Absolute risk is the absolute chance that this could happen.
Right.
Okay.
Like it's closer to.
And relative risk, which is what they reported, is the relationship kind of like between two things.
Okay.
So what they did was they took this 30% decrease in these women who only had estrogen, compared it to these women who had this slight increase against the slight increase of breast cancer, and you did the math, and that turned out to be 25%.
Oh my gosh, they put them both together. That doesn't make sense.
In all actuality,
who did that?
These statisticians are the ones that did it. It wasn't the actual researchers of the study. It was the statisticians.
It wasn't American Cancer, like it wasn't like.
No, it was the United States that did this.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. Yeah, the National Institute of Health, the NIH, that's the United States. It was us. We did it. But it wasn't the actual researchers who were doing the actual research and who were in charge of the study that released this information. It was a bunch of statisticians that released this information.
Okay.
And whenever they released it, they actually released it wrong.
That's terrible. Because, we believe
Because what are you told?
Right.
You are told that, right. And that's what we were told. And that's what was plastered on all the newspapers, all the news. Estrogen is a 25% increase of breast cancer. And it wasn't the estrogen that was the problem. It was the synthetic progestin.
Oh my gosh.
That was the problem. Now, I will say in the years since the Women's Health Initiative, there have been hundreds of studies. And if you ever want a list, I'll give them to you.
Oh, thank you. I just listened to you.
But there have been hundreds of studies, maybe even upwards of 1,000, walking back and refuting all the things that released in that WHI study.
Wow.
Because it was wrong. It was wrong. There was no increased risk of breast cancer.
And so many women, what year was that again?
2002.
So many, that wasn't even that long ago. If you
it was
think
20
about
years.
It. Yeah, 20
that's
years.
That's a whole generation of women.
Heck, I was in my almost 30.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
But has anyone talked to you about menopause? No. And
no.
Because that stigma still lives today, because the headlines were so big saying estrogen causes this increased risk of breast cancer, but none of these other hundreds of studies that have been done have ever made the headlines.
Now, how did you find this out?
Lots and lots of research.
Yeah.
One book that I recommend, and I recommend it to all my patients to read, and it really is one of the books.
Tell me,
it really is one of the books that changed my mind, and it definitely goes through the Women's Health Initiative study way better than I am here. It is called Estrogen Matters, and it is written by Avram Blooming, and he is a
it's a male?
It's a man.
Oh, okay.
It's a man. He is an oncologist. He is actually the oncologist who developed the lumpectomy, because before that, it was always a radical mastectomy. And the reason that he got into researching this and he wrote the book was because his wife, who had breast cancer, was having horrible, horrible menopausal symptoms.
Oh, geez.
And he thought she deserved better. So he started doing all of this research about the WHI, about estrogen, how it's beneficial, how it's not harmful to us. And he actually started his wife with breast cancer, who had a history of breast cancer, on hormone replacement therapy.
Now, when was this? When did he write this book?
It hasn't been out. It's been out for probably at least 5 years. I can't say for sure when it was published, but it's very, very available. And actually, they're even on Instagram. If you just go to Estrogen Matters on Instagram, that's all.
Oh my goodness! Thank you for doing that.
But excellent book. And it was what.
So what happened with his wife then? When she started taking the hormone replacement,
she felt a whole lot better.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was on hormone replacement therapy for many, 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 many years. And I don't remember. Read the book, because I don't remember exactly.
I don't want to hear the ending.
Oh, yeah. Read the book, because I don't actually remember what ended up. I know she passed, but I don't remember why she passed.
Okay. Thanks. You just gave it away.
Sorry. She passed as well. But there's one other thing that we need to talk about too, as far as hormone replacement therapy goes. Did you take birth control?
I did in the beginning, in my 20s.
You took birth control in your 20s?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So
actually, college, so probably before.
So were you afraid of breast cancer with birth control?
No.
So an average dose of birth control is about 20 milligrams of estrogen, synthetic estrogen.
Only 20%.
20 milligrams.
20 milligrams. Okay.
An average dose of estrogen in a synthetic birth control pill is 20 milligrams. Okay. A beginning dose of hormone replacement therapy with bioidentical hormones, and bioidentical means that on a molecular chemical level, compared to our own, they are identical. Our body accepts them as their own and uses them as their own. If you had them sitting side by side on a paper, their molecular chemical level, you could not tell the difference, and neither can your body.
Oh my, I feel like we're in chemistry class now.
A little bit. So
explain that, yeah.
So a starting dose of an average dose of birth control is 20 milligrams.
Okay.
A starting dose of hormone replacement therapy is 0.025 milligrams.
Really?
Why are we not afraid of synthetic birth control, but we're terrified of hormone replacement therapy when it is literally a quarter or less of the dose?
Wow. That doesn't make sense.
Because there's a stigma. Because there's a stigma, and there's so much misinformation, and the misinformation hasn't been cleared up.
Right.
And that's why. And the other thing is there's no, when a doctor goes to medical school, there's no class on menopause.
Right. Nobody's going
when
to
your
that
OB,
class.
Yeah, when your OBGYN goes to school, there's no class on menopause.
Right, because people probably don't think you're going to make money at it.
Well, and it's not something that especially like OBGYNs, I mean, their business is, I mean, I can't speak for all. I mean, and I don't
Right,
mean,
because there's some that are probably.
But, an OB's main job is babies and delivering babies.
Right.
The problem is there's not a lot of education around this. And I will be honest with you, I was a horrible menopause provider. I was bad. I was given antidepressants and saying, oh, you just need to eat less and exercise more.
I hate when people say that.
You just need to do some meditation to help you sleep. I was a horrible menopause provider. Yes. I'll be the first one to admit it. I was bad at it. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But after doing all of my research and learning and then getting help for myself, I'm bound and determined that I'm going to help as many women as I can. Because we don't deserve to feel like we're trudging through mud every single day.
Right. And this Menopause Mondays is really just giving information and options. And, I mean, you have to consult your physician. But of course. With Kelley,
come see me.
Yeah. I mean, you get can they get a consultation with you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because that's the thing. Like, it's almost like, I think a lot of people are afraid to do it because they don't know. These are all the misconceptions.
Exactly.
Again, go on.
So, hormone replacement therapy is different. We usually give it. So one, it's not synthetic. It is all bioidentical. It's normally sourced from wild yams, is where it comes from. But you can't eat enough yams to actually bring up your estrogen levels.
I don't like yams.
Well, you don't have to eat them. You don't have to eat them. It's typically done transdermally, so that means through the skin. And the reason that we do it through the skin is if you take estrogen orally, it does slightly increase the risk of blood clots. And that's because when we take it orally, it has to be metabolized by the liver. And that interaction between estrogen and the liver can increase the risk of blood clots. So I pretty much for my patients, I stay away from oral estrogen. Because I don't want to increase their risk. Right. That also means, though, too, that women who have been told they can't have hormones because they've had migraines and it might cause them a stroke because it can cause a clot. That doesn't happen with transdermal estrogen. We eliminate any risk of clotting with transdermal estrogen.
Wow.
It goes in through the bloodstream through fat and then gets absorbed into the. So it depends. It depends. So you can use a gel. You can use
all over your body or just
just in an area.
Okay.
Just in an area.
Okay.
So we have patches, we have gel, we have creams, and we have sprays.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is there one that works better?
Not really. It's really just it not really. It's really personal preference. So for me personally, I prefer the patch. And that's usually what I start off with all my patients is the patch.
That's not the pellets, right? That's
no.
Oh, okay, we won't talk about that. But anyway, but the patch.
Don't get me on pellets.
Well, that's another
please. If you hear anything, please stay away from pellets. One, they're not regulated by the FDA. I honestly don't know how they sell them, and I don't care to know. But they can be giving super physiological doses of these hormones and can really cause more harm than good. And I've seen it firsthand in patients. And so I beg everyone, please stay away from pellets.
Right. Do your research, yeah. So tell us more about the patch. So it's a patch.
So it's this little patch.
Where does it go?
It's about this big. It's completely clear.
And you wear it all day?
And you wear it for 3 days.
When you shower and everything?
Yeah. It stays on.
Okay.
It stays on. So it's this little patch. You either wear it to your lower abdomen below your belly button
So
area.
it's like if my listeners are listening, not watching on YouTube, it's about as big
About
as,
an inch.
Okay, about
an inch big, inch all the way around.
Like almost like a Band-Aid kind of thing?
It's clear. It's a clear plastic.
Okay.
And it sticks very well to the skin. And that delivers a consistent amount of estrogen into your bloodstream, directly into your bloodstream. It gets absorbed by your subcutaneous fat and then goes into your bloodstream.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. So that's the estrogen part. That's the systemic transdermal estrogen part.
Okay.
And like I said, with the patch, or we can do cream, gel that you rub into like your thigh or your butt or your shoulder.
Yeah.
Or we can do sprays, and the sprays are very fine, and you can do them on your arm.
Well, but once you shower,
no, it gets absorbed into it gets absorbed right away.
Okay.
Yeah, it gets absorbed right away.
I never even knew there was so
I
many.
mean, you don't want to shower you don't want to put it on and then hop into the shower. I mean, you put it on in the morning and shower that evening, or put it on at night and then shower in the morning. It's going to be absorbed by then.
This is how unknowledgeable I am about the hormone replacement. I thought it was a shot.
No.
I thought you were giving shots.
Mm-mm.
I didn't know it could be a cream, could be a spray.
And these are all FDA approved, and so they're covered by your insurance.
What?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another thing that we do is vaginal estrogen. So in the last episode, we really talked a lot about the whole vaginal changes, the urinary changes. Vaginal estrogen can be done in a couple different ways. We have creams, we have powders, we have creams, and pills, like pellets, not pellets. I don't want to use the word pellets. Creams and like pessaries, so a pill that you put into the vagina.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There's rings, and so we use that to treat the vaginal area. I personally like the creams.
Yeah, that sounds like the best bet for me.
I like the creams.
Right.
Yeah, because you also want to coat the outside. So the pill that you insert, or the pessary that you insert, does it get absorbed by the outside? Yes, it does, but I don't know. I prefer the cream for my patients.
Right. And what does that do, the cream?
It helps rebuild your vaginal tissues, helps rebuild your urethra, decrease the urinary frequency, incontinence.
Geez, I'm up like 3 times a night.
Yeah, it helps decrease all of that stuff.
Wow.
Keeps away vaginal infections, keeps away urinary tract infections.
Now, do you have to do both? Do you recommend, or does it depend on the patient?
I recommend that every woman use vaginal estrogen.
Okay.
And the reason is because a lot of times systemic estrogen just isn't enough for that vaginal area that is so estrogen rich that it just needs a little more love.
Right. Nobody talks about it.
No, nobody talks about it.
No, it's not like
the other components. So those are the estrogens that we use. Okay. We use also progesterone. So the main thing that we use is oral micronized bioidentical progesterone.
Okay.
It's a pill. If you're allergic to peanuts, we have to get it compounded.
Thank you, Porters.
Thank you, Porters. We have to get it compounded because the outside of the pill is made out of peanut oil. And the reason that it's made out of peanut oil is because fat helps it get absorbed into the bloodstream easier.
Wow.
So if we have it compounded, then we usually do it in some type of other oil like coconut or olive oil.
Okay.
So that it gets absorbed. You can do micronized progesterone 2 ways, a couple ways. 1, orally, 2, vaginally, and it's the same pill.
Okay.
Or you can get an IUD.
What?
Because an IUD, so a Mirena IUD or a Kyleena IUD, and I do this a lot for my women who are still having periods and having like period irregularity.
Because doesn't that like stop like having babies, like not babies, but like.
So it does nothing for ovulation. All an IUD does, because it is full of progesterone, is keep the uterine lining so thin that implantation cannot happen, even if fertilization does.
Okay.
That's how it prevents pregnancy.
Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 options.
Yeah. And then sometimes my women who are perimenopausal and still having periods, we do use a progesterone-only birth control pill. to help keep that uterine lining thin, help protect the uterus from overgrowth, and to prevent pregnancy.
Wow.
Because you don't want to be 40. Maybe somebody
Listen,
does. I didn't want to be
okay.
49 and pregnant.
So this is this is a fun fact about Jenny D. So a couple of years ago, well, maybe it was like 2 years ago, I was going to the pharmacy taking pregnancy tests because I was like, oh my gosh.
Because you were skipping periods?
My period. Am I pregnant? I'm pregnant at 50
So
years old.
that's how, though, a lot of those, I
Scary.
mean, you remember, I can remember my grandmother saying, change a life, baby. I remember my grandmother
Yes, 'cause,
saying
yeah,
those things.
Yeah.
And that's because women would be going months and months and months without the period, and they thought they were done. So then they're like, not being careful anymore. Right. And then wham, bam, next thing you know, they were pregnant.
Yeah.
And that's because ovulation can still happen as your estrogen levels are declining until you've been that whole year without a period. And we know that you're out of eggs.
Okay, then I don't need to take any more pregnancy tests.
You don't need to take any more pregnancy tests. The third component, the third hormone that we use is testosterone.
Okay.
Testosterone is very important in women. So people don't realize this. Women actually make more testosterone than they do estrogen.
Why?
So, but estrogen is more used by our body than and by systemically than testosterone is.
Oh wow! I got blood work maybe a year ago, and my testosterone was high.
Well, that's all relative
I was
too.
like, am I getting
it depends. It depends too, and it depends on what type of test that they did.
Okay.
Because whenever I do testosterone testing, I only do. It's a very kind of ultra sensitive. It's called an LCMC, and that is the most sensitive testosterone that you can do.
Okay.
And so those are the ones that's the one that I test to see if my women, and really they'll say
to be high.
So here's the thing. Men's range, so women's ranges of testosterone, according to like the blood work, and it varies depending upon the lab that you use, is like up to 45.
Okay.
Men's testosterone levels are around, they start about 200 and go up to maybe about 900.
Oh, wow.
That's how much testosterone that they have in their bodies. So I have had women whose testosterone levels are 100 and they feel fantastic. They don't have any symptoms of, growing hair, deepening voice,
I thought it's because I was Italian.
So, but here's the thing though, as your estrogen levels decline, then your testosterone, because remember the adrenal glands make testosterone too, not just the ovaries. So then testosterone is floating around more in your system than estrogen and progesterone is, because once you're done having periods, you don't have any more estrogen and progesterone. Mm-hmm. Your ovaries are shriveled up raisins.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, you don't have any more.
Well, thank you. Now I can't eat raisins again.
You're welcome. You're welcome. But so then that's why we will experience that facial hair and maybe some hair thinning. Yes. And that's because estrogen is no longer there to balance out that testosterone.
Wow. So you have something for
I do testosterone replacement also for women. I do it for men also, but we're not talking about them today.
That's right. We're
all talking about women. And I use a very low dose. Now I use Porter's Pharmacy for my compounding needs. And what they do is they take a male dose of testosterone and they basically dilute it down. So a male's dose of testosterone is usually about 100 milligrams.
Okay.
A women's dose of testosterone is usually 5 to 10 milligrams.
Oh,
so
wow.
There is no,
that's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. But there is no FDA approved testosterone for women yet.
Right.
Australia has it. Australia has one. But they're ahead of us, and that's why I subscribe to them and I follow them.
Hey, mate,
I read a lot. I read a lot of their information and their studies.
I have listeners in Australia. Hello.
Well,
good day, dude. That's probably the wrong accent.
Whatever. Yeah, we tried. But Australia does have a female version of testosterone. The United States, we're probably looking at a while yet still. So in the meantime, we have these wonderful compounding pharmacies like Porter's that does this for me so that I can provide my women with testosterone. I'll be honest, I'm on an estrogen patch. I take progesterone every night. And let me tell you, you sleep like a baby. And
Oh my God, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah, you sleep very well. And I also use testosterone replacement. The testosterone has really been kind of a game changer for me as far as energy goes. I will tell you that before I started my testosterone, there's no way I'd be here right now at 7:00.
Right, you need to go to sleep.
Oh my God. I was exhausted at 3.
I'm always tired.
So I'd be okay in the morning, but then 1, 2, 3 o'clock came and I just hit a wall and I was be done.
I was the same way.
Testosterone is really great for fatigue. It is really great for libido. It helps us maintain our muscle mass, helps us to put on more muscle. It's very good for our bones. So it's kind of the unsung hormone in a way.
Yes.
Because a lot of, you may get a doctor who will offer you estrogen and progesterone, maybe, but very little will offer testosterone.
This makes sense. So how do you feel now that you're doing all those?
Oh my gosh. It's literally been life-changing. I mean, I really can't put it in any better term. And I say this to my patients all the time that, it's going to be life-changing and I'm going to make you feel better. And you're going to feel like you have your life back. I just had a patient today who came in and she goes, last time whenever you said that it was going to change my life, she goes, I really didn't believe you. She goes, but you're right. It has.
And how long did it take? Like I'm all about, I want a quick fix, but I know it's not a quick fix.
So what I do with the way I do it, I don't want women suffering. I want them I want to end the suffering as quickly as I possibly can.
Right.
So when a patient comes in and we discuss her symptoms and everything, I have this kind of questionnaire that they fill out and then it kind of scores them on their symptoms. And I kind of go by, well, how bad are your symptoms? How are you rating your symptoms? Are you rating them as occasional, sometimes, all the time, extremely?
Right.
And it really depends upon what their symptoms are. But I usually start people on a low to middle of the road dose of estrogen. And then we meet back up in 8 weeks to see how you're feeling. Right. If you're going, well, this, and this, like I'm no longer having night sweats, but I still feel brain foggy and my back still hurts. And I'll be like, okay, let's increase your estrogen.
Okay.
But I don't typically mess with all 3 hormones at the same time.
Right.
Because then I don't know. Well, I don't know what's working then.
Right.
So the main thing that I do is when I get a woman coming in for hormone replacement therapy, we start with our main hormones, which are estrogen and progesterone. Once we get you feeling really good on those and we have your symptoms down.
Right, because everybody's different.
Right. And we have your symptoms under well control where you're going, I feel really good.
Yes.
I feel really good. Then if you're still having that fatigue, you don't have any libido, you feel like you can't put on muscle, then we bring in that testosterone discussion. So when you first come in, we discuss it. I start you on treatment. I see you 8 weeks later. We decide, we discuss it again. How are your symptoms? Well, this is going on. I still feel tired. My back still hurts. Let's increase the dose. See you back in 8 weeks.
Now, what about belly fat?
So belly fat's a little bit.
Can I lose it, please?
So belly fat's a little bit harder, and a lot of times, whenever we get women on, because it's not just about the hormones.
Yeah, exercise.
It's not just about the hormones, and we really need to focus on being strong rather than thin.
Right.
Because that's going to give us more longevity. And belly fat is a little bit harder. But once we get women on their individualized stable dose of estrogen, we can typically see anywhere between a 5 to 15 pound weight loss, really without them trying. I know it happened to me. Right. I lost 10 pounds and wasn't even trying.
Right. How long did that take?
Well, it was probably about, it's kind of hard to say. Like I said, everybody is different.
Right.
But it's once you're on your stable dose. So it really kind of depends on how long it takes to get on your stable dose. But we're usually pretty good and get done in 2-3 visits.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
So they come in how many times a week for these
Oh, they
hormone
don't come
replacement?
in for the hormone. You do it at home.
Oh,
I prescribe it to your pharmacy, and you apply your patch at home, and you take your progesterone every night.
oh, and then we come back in a
And then
couple
you come
months.
back in 8 weeks, and we review, and we have you fill out another questionnaire. And how are
Ah,
you feeling? And depending upon how you feel and depending upon how your symptoms are controlled, we decide, do we stay at the same dose? Do we increase it? If we increase it, you come back again in 8 weeks so we can do another
right.
evaluation. If we stay, pardon me, if we stay at the same dose, then we go 3 months to
Okay.
see, are you still the same after 3 months?
I love
But
that.
you get the patch, you put it on at home, you wear it for 3 to 4 days, you take it off, and you put on the next one.
Gosh. Thank you for doing all the research for us. Thank you, Kelley. Because
You're welcome.
When you don't talk about it unless you're going through it.
And that's what needs to change. My goal is, one, I hate that our generation is going through it and kind of suffering through it and has all these mixed messages.
Right.
My hope is that the women of the next generation, my daughter, if you have a daughter,
Yes, I do.
that they don't ever have to do this, and that they just get the treatment and they just get the treatment that they need. Right. And there's not this, oh, well, you can't have it because you have a family history of breast cancer, which, by the way, does not mean you cannot have hormones.
Right. Yeah. It's almost like you have to be an advocate for yourself.
You do.
And
you do for some things. Yeah,
right.
you absolutely do. Now, if you come to see me, not really, because I know,
yeah, you've had it all.
This is what I do.
And you've seen it a lot too.
I've seen it a lot. Yeah.
How long have you been doing the hormone replacements?
About 1.5 years.
Okay. And you've seen a lot of women life-changing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely life-changing.
That's amazing.
I've had women come in, and like I said, we cry a lot in my office because they are, they've never had anybody listen to them before, and they're just so thankful to have somebody listen. And then I've had them come in, and then they're like,
"Yay, you listened to me!"
No, whenever they come back, and I have them on treatment,
yes.
and they're like, I'm like, "How you doing?" And they're like, "I'm great. I'm great."
Somebody told me they feel young again.
Oh yeah, I do.
And I
do.
Oh, please!
I don't feel like an old lady anymore. I really felt like an old lady. It was hard to get out of bed.
Yes.
It was getting up from a chair and trying to walk. It's like, oh my God, my hip.
But I thought that was like normal old age. I know.
No, it's not. And you're not old. We're 50s.
I'm running the marathon.
We're in our 50s. We are not old.
I know.
80 is old.
Right.
If you're creaking and having a hard time at 80,
it's
that's
normal.
understandable.
Right.
That's normal.
Yeah.
But not in our 50s. We're really in the prime of our lives.
Right. We should be enjoying.
Our kids are growing up. We get to, we have more free time. It's horrible that we're made to think that we're supposed to feel crappy for the next 30 years.
Yeah, and that to me is just, it's been such a horrible. Mine has been going on for, I don't even know how long anymore.
Yeah.
And, and I just love that you have the options, you have the knowledge, you have your place. And, this is something, if you're listening or viewing right now, this is something to think about. This is something to research about and call Kelley's office.
Yeah, call, make an appointment.
What is your number?
Our number?
Yes.
We are at Allegheny. I'm at Allegheny Medical.
And that's in Moon.
That is it's in Moon. It's right up off of Montour Run.
Okay.
Trying to think. So our phone number is 412-494-4550, and our address is
412
494-4550.
Okay.
And our address,
and we'll have all this in the
cut that out.
Listen, I don't remember phone numbers because I'm so used to my phone. I have it, but we will have all this information in the description, so you will be able to call Kelley and get a consultation and talk to her about it. And Kelley's so passionate about this too.
Oh my gosh, it's my passion.
When
it's
you're
my
going
passion
through it, and I said, you know what, I gotta figure things out for women.
Yeah,
because there's so many of us going through this, and we're not alone. We're not alone.
No, we're not. And I will tell you, I think I had all 80 symptoms of menopause.
Yeah.
so that I can relate to every single patient. And I really believe that I was made to have all of those symptoms, and I was made to come out to the other side because I was made to help women and to stop the suffering in our area and hopefully beyond.
Right. And I thank you so much for
your
knowledge.
I thank you.
Oh, that feels good.
My
hands are cold.
I thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity to hopefully educate the women, not only in our area, but hopefully beyond, to know that you're not alone.
Don't make me cry.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You do not have to suffer through this. Menopause is something that is going to happen to.
It shouldn't be a bad word.
Well, it's going to something that's going to happen to every single one of us. We don't have to suffer through it.
Right.
We don't. This is not our mother's menopause.
That's right. Because we are going to conquer this Menopause Mondays.
That's right. We're going to conquer it, and we are going to be healthier for it, because chronic estrogen deprivation leads to chronic diseases. Right. Hormone replacement therapy decreases your risk of heart disease by 25%, dementia by 30%, colon cancer, osteoporosis by 60%.
I read something about that too, because that runs in my family.
Osteoporosis is decreased. How many men do you know with osteoporosis?
I don't know anyone.
Right.
Wow.
But how many women do you know?
Oh, wow. Yes.
And the reason is because of estrogen deprivation.
There's so much that you have just educated me on. I so appreciate it. I feel like now I have more knowledge, and I'm going to be like that person walking around. Hey, did you know that studies show?
Yeah.
Because there are people out there that may not believe in the hormone replacement, but
it's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
Do your research. And we do have do I feel like it is the best option? Absolutely. But there are a certain group of women who absolutely can't have it. But there are also a lot of misconceptions about who can't have it whenever they actually can.
And that's what we wanted to really focus on today, so that, you have the knowledge.
And, you can, Allegheny Medical, we're on Instagram. I'm on Instagram, Menopause.
Am I following you?
I don't know. Are you? I'm personally on Instagram. Usually me and Allegheny Medical, we kind of collaborate on everything, but Allegheny.
Oh yeah, they've been liking my stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we usually collaborate on everything. But I'm at menopause.np. We're also on Facebook, and you can leave a comment and ask, well, is it okay if I have this?
Right.
Yes or no?
And I thank you so much for being here and just giving, the audience and the viewers some education and some misconceptions that we do have with the hormone replacement therapy. And I also want to say, thank you so much for Porter's Compounding Pharmacy for being a sponsor for this episode and part one's episode. They're in Moon Township as well. But if you are interested in hearing more from Kelley and you'd like to sponsor a podcast episode for her, because I would love to have a patient come in or tell us some stories about some patients, a little bit more of that. So
even to just go even more kind of in depth. I mean, granted, this was, 2 episodes, but still there's so much more to learn. There's just even so much more that we could even go into even in more in depth.
Yes. Thank you so much. So if you're interested, just get a hold of me. And I would love to do this because I so enjoy talking to Kelley, and she really has brought so much things to light. And I feel so much happier now because I feel like, wow, there's some answers out there.
Yeah.
We're not alone.
I had a patient just the other day. She goes, so I'm not crazy.
I know.
No, you're not crazy. This really is happening to you.
Yes.
All of these symptoms are real. And she's like, and they're all related to each other. And I go, yes, and they're all related to each other. They're all because of estrogen, and we're going to fix them all. Right. And she's like, I just can't even believe that's possible. And I said, I'll see you in 8 weeks.
I love it. I love it. I know because, my mood swings, 1 minute I'm happy and the next minute I'm like, I'm so mad and I don't even know why.
The rage is real.
Yes, the rage is real. So make sure to listen to part 1 if you haven't. Those are all about the symptoms. I think I have all of them. There's 80. And this was part 2 with Kelley DeFilippis from the Allegheny Medical. Thank you so much for being on Spill With Me, Jenny.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, really. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Come spill with me. Come spill with me. with me. Cause bear with me. Jenny D. Jenny D. Jenny D. Jenny